you said it right. Every one of us came here because of our education. And today, I have to introduce another very gentle and very successful entrepreneur to you. You have seen, you know, Eleanor Roosevelt. It's in the brochure over there. That don't curse the darkness, light a candle. So this gentleman, Mukesh Chatter, you know, he's a great engineer, a great entrepreneur. He came to this country after his BS degree from the great school, Pilani, and so many of Pilani graduates are here who have so much dedication for Ekal. Then he came to America. He did his master's from RPI, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in New York, and then he started his career as an engineer, a great architect of technological networking solutions and so many other inventions. And he started a company, XTO-Wave, and then he started a company, Nexabit. Nexabit in collaboration with Ray Tata, who's the founder and MIT graduate of Analog Devices. It's a company here, very big company. And lo and behold, the eminence and knowledge of Mukesh, this company, one of the earliest in this city, was bought over by Lucent Technologies for $950 million even before IPO. Give a hand. He's on board of directors of so many companies. He's also advisor to many companies, difficult to recount, but at the same time, my personal relationship with him, my young friend, very nice, always respectful, always very, very kind. And he emulates that, but he also is a humanist in the sense that he gives to charities, he helps poor people, and he helps Ekal. It is my honor, in the same spirit, don't curse the darkness, light the candle. Here is a light, Mukesh Chatter.
Thank you for the kind words, Puranji. I just wish I could convince my wife that that was true. But you know, it's always a joy to be here among this function, among Ekal volunteers, the leaders, the organizational folks who are involved. My wife Preeti and I are very proud to be associated with Ekal. It's been a wonderful experience and what Ekal has done actually for the children. Under the thoughtful leadership of Ranjini ji and Amrit ji and Puran ji and Nara Sahab and many others in this room, I cannot recount all the names. The cause of the poorer children, those who are neglected the most destitute you can find in the farthest, remotest corners of India, are actually the ones who are getting addressed in terms of education. These have been neglected for generations, so we are not talking about 1 or 2 or 3, 10-year, 20-year problem. We're talking hundreds of years of problem. In fact, they've been condemned, if I could say that. They've been condemned to the life of misery, hunger, and sickness for all the generations going back till we can go to the mankind. So the task what the leadership here and in India and the whole organization is doing is truly remarkable. I mean, if you look at the genesis of this cause, this noble cause, it has a symbolic relationship with ancient history, actually. I was thinking about it the other day. Most of us are familiar with a very well-known figure in Indian history, a gentleman named Ekal, the one with the single aim. And his story is he was a tribal child. And he really was a young boy who really was good at archery, wanted to be really best at it. He went to the biggest guru at that time available, Guru Dronacharya. He couldn't teach him, so he decided he's going to take the bull by the horn and learned it by himself. So what did he do? He made a statue of his guru and actually practiced archery and became the best archer who ever lived then and since then. Just by the inspiration of his teacher. So now think about it. One tribal young boy turning into the best archer who ever lived. If one could provide those students, those young boys, the tribal areas, with a teacher, not just a statue, but with a teacher. Think about the force multiplier, what one could do. And that's actually the genesis of what this noble cause was about, and Ekal Vidyalaya is about. To provide more teachers, to provide the teachers to these young, aspiring students who could deliver, who could be somebody from nobody. And with the teacher and the force, you can imagine what it could be. And it was that power, what the founders of Ekal, what the organizational leaders of the Ekal were imagining. And when they did that, they found it, it's very easy to, not easy, it's difficult to first imagine what it can be. We can be overjoyed in what it can deliver internally. The problem is this was the biggest challenge they could have picked. I mean, there are easier things to do in life, but then why do people climb Mount Everest? Right? I mean, if you're going to pick one, let's pick the toughest, the worst, most challenging problem one could get. So that's what Vinodji's father-in-law and then Shyamji and many others decided to take the bull by the horn and decided that that's what they're going to do. So this seed, what they had 25 to 30 years ago, wanting to have many more eclats, has turned into a big tree. And that has been marvelous. And we all know what Ekal offers. I mean, you've seen the video and so forth, and Ranjit have been talking about it. The question begs is, what is education, right? I mean, we talk about Ekal providing education to kids. Is education really memorization of alphabets and numbers? Is education really an abstract idea that is disconnected with the local culture, history, customs, and so forth? The answer is clearly no. So that's what Ekal did. Ekal decided to formulate a curriculum which was very different than the regular approach. And they said, what is it that it should be? And that is, at the end of the day, we cannot be in schools all the time for all our lives. It's only a few years Ekal could support. But then if you think about it, since we cannot be in school all the time, but life itself is a school in which we are permanently enrolled. So the idea was to teach the students how to learn. Not just learn, but how to learn by themselves. And it was the basic idea, once it's ingrained in the heads of individuals. They can do anything, whether it's cultivating a crop, whether it's trying to figure out what the new technology is, whether it's trying to say, okay, I'm interested in learning and I want to go to high school, or I want to go to college. And fundamentally, I want to be somebody. And it's that difference from the condemned curse to be wanting to be somebody is what that education actually Ekal does and imparts in these students. And that, I think, is the best part of this whole process. It's a curriculum that's in harmony with the local customs and culture. And that's very important, something which Roger correctly pointed out. That it's most, I mean, if you detach them, there's no root, there's no sense of belonging. As it is, I'm condemned and I have no belonging. I mean, that's the worst thing you can do as a human being. What's the difference between that and an animal life, if you will? So if we have become human, this is God's blessing to us, we at least can be somebody, and I think that's the curriculum, and that instills that confidence in individuals to say, I can solve my own problems. I can innovate my way out of this problem. I can do something which is different than others. So in about 25 years, I mean, you've seen tens of millions of underprivileged children who had nowhere to go, nobody to look up to, no role models, nobody to attend their issues. And they actually, the Ekal has allowed them to dream and dream big. And that has been a marvelous accomplishment that has put them on a gateway to better life. Build a bridge which can go over this ocean of misery that has been going on for 1,000+ years. With the education in their hand and the brain that has been enlightened, maybe get a job, start a small business, grow better food, take care of health, be a healthcare worker, and beyond. There's no limit to it. I mean, once the door has been opened, the floodgate has been opened. There's no other side of it. This is clearly transforming lives of individuals not only, but the families. But also is transforming their communities, and by extension, the country, and so forth. So Ekal has given them hope. hope beyond the first time in thousands of years or more. Unlike their forefathers, they have an opportunity to get away from the powerful clutches of misery and poverty and sickness and the despair. And that's really what Ekal has done. So I'm really very proud. If this is not a noble cause, I have no idea what a noble cause it is. I'll also speak a little bit about my personal experiences of the impact of education. I share a lot with you, Raja, on that one. Actually, so neither my wife nor I come from tribal backgrounds, but I'll still share that because both of us have the same rootings going back. My father actually grew up in a very small village called Manorthana in Rajasthan in India. My grandfather actually was very well-to-do but lost all his money. And the village actually only had primary education and no way out after that. So my dad was so interested in getting educated, he decided to come to a little bigger town and get more education. He had no money, no money. This is the first time I was sharing actually in a wider audience. My dad only ate one time a day for years. So he could actually graduate from high school and then went to college, had a successful practice and did a number of businesses. And it's only because of their hard work that from a small town in Manorthana to here I am in Massachusetts with the success and the fortunate love and affection and everything else that came with it. It's only because of that education, because it chose to. But that's the same example what Ekal is trying to emulate everywhere. I'll give you another example. My wife's grandfather only had formal education till 3rd grade. Grew up in a small village in Rajasthan and Rani. Barely knew how to read and write, but he wanted to be somebody. And this is 1920s. He decided to come out of the village, went to Calcutta, did a number of jobs. He wanted to start a factory. He actually went to Japan. This is 1930s. Decided to work actually at an umbrella factory. Came back to India, and actually and he knew, by the way, no Japanese, and he was vegetarian, which those of you who have traveled in Japan know it's difficult, to say the least. But anyway, he started a first brass umbrella factory in India, was an incredibly successful businessman in Calcutta in 40s and 50s and 60s, one of the most successful ones. It's strictly because of the power of education. His cousins and brothers couldn't do that because they did not even have a till 3rd grade formal education. They couldn't read and write. And he learned actually Japanese, which is not exactly easier language to learn, and then came up with it. So the point I'm making is the impact the education can have. The story from the small village in Rani to Calcutta to Concord, Massachusetts is a story of 2 generations. So this transformation can happen in 1 generation, in my case, or in this case, 2 generations. Think about what Ekal can do for those, the thousands of generations, they can be transformed in 1 or 2. And that's actually a big, big deal. I just want to summarize it. 1.5 million of the most destitute children undergoing a life transformation because Ekal has put this organization together to help the cause. Let me put it in perspective what 1.5 million means. The world-renowned Mother Teresa, the most honorable and humble person, was serving tens of thousands of people towards the sunset of their life every year. Ekal serves 1.5 million of those in the morning of their life every year. 100 times more. 100 times more transforming lives. Yet, the founders, the organizers, the leaders, the volunteers, not only they're giving, they're the unsung heroes of this whole process, if you think about it. They're giving their lives to serve a mass of humanity. But yet, they remain the bricks behind a plastered wall. Nobody knows their name. They get no recognition. They're not celebrated in media. Newspapers don't write about them. But they're doing something transforming 1.5 million lives, 1.5 million, which is 100 times more what Mother Teresa was doing in Calcutta. But they get no recognition. But that's okay. That's okay. That's okay because a dream is being built today. A dream is being built brick by brick by brick. And what I'm really happy to know that each one of us here, present here, is helping a lending hand in putting that brick. And that's really the most powerful thing, because each one is not only giving the hand, whether it's by time, whether it's by money, but also a little bit of everyone of you is giving your heart. And that makes a big difference when you give your heart to it. So if there ever was a success story in recent times of somebody going against the odds, picking the hardest peak to climb, this probably is one of the best shining example there is. And I'm really proud of all of you who have done this and continue to help the cause. So I bow my head to each one of you with respect, what you have done, that you've been part of this organization, helping the cause. I urge you to share this story with your friends, with your neighbors, and most importantly with your children, so they can continue to be part of this transformational process from thousands of generation to a generation, and a change that can occur. Our scriptures say, Jnanam param balam, knowledge is the mightiest force. Let's all be that force multiplier on top of that force. That's who we all are, actually. That's what we are doing with Ekal. So let's be instrumental in enabling millions of Ekalavis. There was a one without a teacher. Now we have 1.5 million with teachers. And that transformation can change not only the individuals, the families, the community, the country, and the whole world. So I want to thank you for giving me the time to share my ideas. I took a little bit longer than you had allowed me. So my apologies for exceeding that allocated time. But thank you so much again.